years ago, I took it to the track. The car literally lifted the rear, swayed it, and pushed me right into the wall. We got it to the point that it could go racing again, but I gotta tell you, man, it was a pretty dismotivating thing. We decided, let's stop feeling bad for ourselves and start go racing again.
What's up, guys? Javier from That Racing Channel. Welcome back to another episode. Behind me, we have Pablo, aka Slow Integra, and his 1997 Acura Integra. It makes upwards of 850 real horsepower and is an absolute savage on the street. He built one heck of a badass ride over the course of about 10 years. He's got so much blood, sweat, and tears in this build, and a heck of a cool story. We're gonna catch up with him, learn the breakdown on the car, hear about his story, also go for a spin and see what this thing's all about. It's gonna be a spicy one, boys. Guys, we're going for a spin in Pablo's 1997 turbo front-wheel drive Integra. What's up, my man?
Let's do it. Sorry for the noise ahead of time. They say, oh, hood exit cars are always loud, but in this case, that's not even the loudest thing in it. The trans is just way too loud. It's obnoxious.
We got a full street car, AC, power steering.
Of course, the works, radio.
All of the luxury, all of the amenities. Is so raw. You feel every vibration, solid, mounted, everything. Check. So Pablo has quite a long history with this car. You've been building this car over how many years?
Almost 10 years now.
10
so
years.
I got it as a roller, fully like virgin car, and built it from the ground up at this point, you know?
Yeah. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears over the years. A lot of ups and downs with this story here. We're taking it for a little cruise. It's front-wheel drive, making a ton of power. I think around 800 wheel horsepower.
About 800
wheel horsepower, so a lot of spinning. So what's just give us the basic rundown, engine, turbo, trans.
Yeah, so LSV Tech, GSR head, 89 stroke. It's your typical B-Series build, fully built bottom end, fully built head. G-Force trans, 67mm turbo. Dog box, obviously, so that makes it super loud. The works, it's on a FuelTech FT550, so that controls everything. And a little too crazy for a car that you can say is a street car or whatever.
it's borderline. It's borderline.
It's uncomfortable, that's for sure. So the car makes 850 when it's a little aggressive. I turned it down, like from duty cycle being around 50%, it's at 20% right now. It does well on the track.
How quick and fast have you been? What's your best time so far?
So at the track we've gone 969.
Okay.
I think that pass was high 140s, and other passes we've done 150.
Hell yeah.
The goal is to go 8s. You know, man, we can talk about this a little more, but I've kind of been at this level that I want to turn it up and dial the car in a little bit more and go a little quicker. But it's always just kind of been a fun ride to have fun, you know?
The wheel speed, just straight to the moon.
Instant. And it grabbed, or wanted to grab a little in fourth.
Yeah, dude.
And as soon as the boost came back in, it was just out.
That horsepower came in and just annihilated those tires, bro.
It's good. It's good.
This thing is so badass.
It's a good way to deal with stress.
Yep,
for sure.
There's nothing like a beautiful sunny weekend with some Honda sounds,
A little VTEC.
some VTEC, some burning tires. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. This thing's f***ing flying.
Really?
Dude, it's just like the experience, you know?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Bro, sound,
It's
and then like, you're not like, you know, like slow shifting in, like it's really, wah, bang a gear, wah, bang a gear, you know, like.
It's pretty much useless. Like you saw on the street, you're not taking this out to a cash days, how it's set up at least,
right.
and doing anything crazy.
Right.
But it's a fun car to drive around, you know?
Yeah.
Even turned down, it's like I was telling you this morning, I like to take my wife out on dates. We live close to a nice area that we can go to nice restaurants and park up. You take the windows out of it and it's just obnoxious, but I've had it for so long, it's like it's definitely a sentimental thing.
Yeah, 100%. This is not the one that you take to the valet.
Feel that drift? Back, the temp's at 176.
Chilling, man.
No coolant pressure, nothing. We you know this, we set the car up for drag and drives in the last couple years.
Yeah.
And 175 right now on the dot.
That's awesome.
My wife's BMW runs hotter than that, and it's stopped.
Every part of this thing, dude.
So obnoxious.
I love every bit of this thing, bro. Dude, I can't thank you enough. You popped my front-wheel drive, big power front-wheel drive Integra Cherry.
I appreciate that.
Never been in one before. Awesome experience. I got to give this thing a massive Tiercy approved stamp. Hope you guys enjoy the ride.
Entry into the car thing was kind of an interesting thing. I think I might have been 16 or maybe 15, about to turn 16, and I had just got in a Civic, and it was a completely stock car. My father helped me buy it. It was a cheap car that was good on gas, and it wasn't anything modified. It was completely reliable at that point. So no history into cars. My family didn't really like cars either, aside from driving from point A to point B. Shortly after I got the car, I started looking online to see if I could customize it, maybe put some lights on it, and then I found out what an intake was online, and I stumbled upon these guys like Speed Factory Racing, were really prevalent in the Honda community, especially at that time, and caught my attention and started opening my mind to a different world that I didn't know existed at the time. Shortly after that, I actually crashed that Civic a couple months after getting it and had to buy a second car. And since I already had my interest peaked with that Honda community, I looked into what's a nice platform to start. Lo and behold, I found a 4-door Integra not too far from me, and I picked that up relatively cheap. It was stick shift, fully stock, and I remember wanting to install like a cold air intake, and then I saw, I want to say that was like $100 or something on eBay, and then for like 600 or something, I think you could buy an eBay turbo kit. And at the time I was working full-time already, I was still in high school, so I saved up some money, bought the eBay turbo kit, had no idea what I was doing. And like I said, my family didn't have any car relation, but my dad had this little tool set that he used to fix the lawnmower, weed whacker, stuff around the house. So I got the turbo kit in, I started throwing it at the car with a buddy of mine from high school. We both kind of got into the car scene around that time, and it was just kind of like an instant hook. What I really loved about the car community, especially back then, was you could go to a random meet, have a great time talking to random people that you've never met, and then just be able to spark up a relationship with them. And you'd hang out at the meet for a couple hours, and you'd have some guys go out on the highway or some back roads, and you'd have a couple cars follow them, but keep it respectful, keep it safe. And I fell in love with it. It was an experience that I never thought I'd fall into, and then when I entered that world, I was instantly hooked. So put the turbo kit on the car, blew it up, picked up a Haynes manual, started learning how to wrench on things myself. That little lawnmower toolkit was instantly useless, so I started going to Advanced Auto Parts or AutoZone, O'Reilly's, picking up some tools here and there. And from having a service manual that you could buy at O'Reilly's for $10, I now became attached to learning more about the car. So that progressed over the years. A couple years later, I sold that Integra. It was my baby. And then after that, I think I've had maybe 20 Integras since then. And this was my second Integra. If we can talk about this car a little bit. The name of the car, if I haven't mentioned it already, is La Fea. I bought this car and it was like 6 different colors, and it was a total piece of junk. So we named it La Fea. I picked it up almost 10 years ago, so around that time frame. And after I started modifying the 4-door Integra, my first one, I noticed I was learning a lot, but I was also doing things pretty wrong, which is expected. We all do things incorrectly, especially the first time, and that's okay. I wanted to have something that I could apply what I've learned without having to do the trial and error again on a new platform. So I bought this as a shell. My buddy Manny and me pulled it home. I think we were in his car, and I was riding in this car as a shell behind with a tow strap. Funny enough, the wheel actually came off halfway home. We got stranded, the car stayed the night in the side of the road. Later that night, my buddy Alfonso came with, I think, his sister's truck, and we put a different wheel on it, pulled it home, and we started wrenching away. This was, like I said, a shell, totally virgin car, and from that point, I started putting together a little block that I wanted to have pistons and rods, because I had learned online that that's what you needed if you were gonna make power. I started putting some head packages together and a nicer turbo kit. So instead of having like an eBay turbo kit, I went to, I think it was a BWR manifold and a Garrett turbo, like the typical GT35. We got to the point the car was making around 600 horsepower. We threw a cage in it. It served us well for several years after that point. It went consistent low 10s, and just, it was a bunch of fun. So obviously, starting at the heart, the engine, it's an LS VTEC, which is traditionally known as a non-VTEC block, for those of you not familiar with Hondas, with a VTEC cylinder head. The manifold itself was by Whitfield Manufacturing, they're a company out on the West Coast. This particular manifold stood out to me because it puts the turbocharger in the headlight location, and that's gotta be half the reason people break their necks when they walk past this car. You look for the 4-eye traditional Integra front end look, and when one of those 4 eyes is gone, it's just the big glowing turbocharger in the front. And it's not anything crazy. The turbo itself is a 67 millimeter. We plan to go bigger in the future, but It's just a nice small frame, decent size for the current configuration. We used a Vibrant core. I think it's a 5.5-inch thick core that I got off online. I ordered it just as a universal fitment, and I built the end tanks on it. So there's a lot of customization going on here. There's a couple companies who make kits with these similar parts that are really fantastic units. But like the whole car has been, it's been a real learning experience. So I wanted to figure out how to do this stuff myself. Alien Spec does alignment on this, and the car, man, we did pulls on the street, second, third, fourth, spinning. The car normally torque steers if it's a Honda. This car is just dead straight. And I gotta say, it makes driving a car like this super safe. We set the car up, I think it was early last year, to do some drag and drive events. So we have some spots in the back that I can put a tow hitch, and I've already extended wiring so I can have brake lights and turn signals and all that. So it's a nice little added benefit if we want to do another drag and drive event like Sick Week or race weeks, things like that. It's looked kind of crappy over the years. This year and last year it looked less crappy with the wrap. We threw some Amazon wrap that we bought, just did it at home, got the front end wrapped, got the rest of the car done up, and it looks a lot better. I'd like to do some body work in the future and get it painted, have it look actually nice. Almost 3 years ago, I took it to the track, and I just put a parachute on it, and I had folded it incorrectly the week before. I had put one of the center tethers through the outside, and that causes the flap to have a tension towards the center and have a new point for the air to scoop it with. It's kind of hard to visualize, but I think I'll put a clip here. We have some rear shots of that. And the car literally lifted the rear, swayed it, and pushed me right into the wall. So it wasn't anything crazy. You guys can see I have a big, thick steel plate in the front of the car, so that luckily stopped a big amount of the hit. But it still twisted some things. The front section of the frame kind of got pushed over, and we had to take it to a body shop, have it repaired. This is what I was saying took the blunt force hit of it. So this steel plate literally started grounding out right there. It hit, pulled the frame cap off at that spot right there, twisted the traction bar arm into the trans. Look at this, billet aluminum, twisted that. It was straight, now it's an S. Freaking crazy. Up top, not anything crazy, a little pinch right there as expected. A little bit of movement here. You can see the body work that we had done is cracked. All this is welded with a little bit of light Bondo on top just for, you know, aesthetics. But you can definitely tell that this section moved in a hair, and it even moved the space between the trans and the chassis right there. Even pinched the motor mount, and it popped this little piece off, and a couple more things. Got it to the point that it could go racing again, but I gotta tell you, man, it was a pretty dismotivating thing. Man, I just came into I went into this funk, and even being around a group of guys who are all about cars and are understanding and wanting to help and, yo, let's do this, let's get it back together. I just fell into this slump, and the car got put back together, and I almost didn't want to do anything with it. It sat for, I want to say like a year and a half. Then some of my friends around me, like Brett LaSala, for example, you guys all know him. He's got the super fast green Mustang. He kind of helped me get out of that funk. We decided, let's stop feeling bad for ourselves and start go racing again. So before I started at Real Street, I had been doing a lot of restaurant work. I'd been serving, bartending, doing a couple things, and honestly, the scheduling with restaurants for the most part is pretty loose, that you can still go racing, have the mornings off in most cases, work on your car, have fun, and then, you know, just enjoy weekends if you ask them off ahead of time and go to events. I had no real idea of leaving that particularly until I saw Real Street put out an ad. My buddy sent it to me and we talked about it a little bit. And they were hiring at that time for a sales position. And didn't really care too much for sales particularly, but I knew that
Real Street was this big brand that I just wanted to be a part of. And I said, talked to my girlfriend at the time, my now wife, and we went through a few things. We're like, okay, well, you're into this car world. You want to keep on learning, and this might be a really cool opportunity for you. So obviously there's people in the industry already that I was learning from, and if I could work a lot closer with them on a day-to-day basis, it's something that I wanted to do. So it's almost been 4 years now that I'm at Real Street. And that position of sales is something I did for a little bit, and then I transitioned into another role that's somewhat media, a little bit with the engine dyno program that we have now. And it gives me this opportunity, man, to learn so much. From going from this mindset that originally I'm like, okay, I just want to be in restaurants because that lets me do my car stuff on the side, to now being in a place that allows me to learn from people who know more than me in an industry that I want to learn with. If I can tell somebody that's looking to be in the automotive field or is interested in automotive, dude, get out there. Find a nice shop to go work at. If you're in a different state, find what's local to you. If you're in a different country and you're watching this right now, please do what you can to learn from somebody else. Be open-minded to take in what you're able to at all points in time. I get people in other countries sometimes message me on Instagram like, hey man, we love to see what you have. You know, in our country, we'd never be able to do it. And I say, dude, this whole thing has been years coming and building up. But are there speed shops in your area, or are there people that you aspire to be like? Because at the end of the day, you surround yourself with a certain group of people, and that's who you're gonna become. And there were people in the company like Jay Marr, for example. He was one of the big reasons that I wanted to join Real Street. The knowledge that he had that I actually learned from watching his YouTube videos for years would now be at my fingertips. The car's at this point now that it makes over 800 horsepower when it's turned up. It can race in a couple different classes, but it's not competitive for sport front-wheel drive. Those guys are a whole nother breed. Go to an event with 3 or 4 engines and 4 transmissions. It's crazy in my point of view. Those people are really, really pushing the envelope. But the car's still at this area that we can enjoy 950 index. I'd like to go a little faster. I'd like to dip into the 8s without being too crazy, and really just enjoy the car a lot. I have plans maybe next year to build something separate, keep this as it is, and maybe build another car that's a little more competitive, maybe a little more consistent in the sense of building everything the first time with all the knowledge that I've learned over the years with this. Yeah, so actually right before I picked up this car, we were working on the Civic at the time, and we had no idea how to do anything. Like I said, we were fresh into it, and a lot of what I was learning was either by doing it and messing up, or picking up that Haynes manual and just trying to figure stuff out. But for aftermarket things, I couldn't find resources, and I didn't grow up around a crowd of people or family even that knew how to work on cars or liked cars or nothing like that. So I started looking stuff up on YouTube, and honestly, at that time, there were a few videos here and there, but there weren't really instructional videos on how to install your coilovers. So we needed to put coilovers on the car, and we figured it out, and then we made a how to install coilovers video. So SP Tuning was born at that point, and a lot of people still hit me up, hey man, can you tune my car? I don't tune cars. I don't know how to tune cars. I'm learning. It's something that I pride myself in trying to figure out, and actually that's something that I want to pick up on this car fully this year. But the name just kind of, we pulled some random letters out of a hat through tuning because it sounded like a racing company. There we go, a couple 15-year-olds on YouTube. We have some videos to put out. So man, we put out how to install your coilovers, how to put a catback exhaust on your Civic, how to put a cold air intake. I think we had a how to install a sticker video. So like, man, the dumbest things. But along with that came this incredible value that we could give people, because while we weren't able to give the exact instructional on step 1, step 2, step 3, we showed them how we did it and what didn't work as well. So there were situations where we would go to install something and we'd put it on the first time upside down, and we'd look at the camera and be like, okay, well, now you know not to do it this way. And the people would learn along with us. And at that era, YouTube was something that it had no long-term mentality. It was just, hey, let's put out a couple of cool videos that somebody might be able to watch. And a lot of those videos blew up. So that put me in a spot a couple years later that the channel was, you know, I showed a lot of instructional stuff. Now let's show the whole build. And you can find videos of this car when it was NA, when it was the first turbo kit, when we did the different turbo kit. I have videos when I did all the fabrication work on the car. I learned how to weld on YouTube. I did videos on, hey man, let's make this intercooler together. And the progression, when I look back at it, it's pretty neat, but it's also funny finding all these old videos of me looking back at it now. I'm like, damn, you're kind of an idiot. But that's part of growth, and it's just part of it. I learned a lot, and I'm happy to say that a lot of people learn with us. So we'd get comments all the time, hey man, you should have done this way. And a lot of people could take that like, oh, haters. Take what you can from it, learn from it, and the next video we're like, all right, let's do something a different way. And we learned a lot like that. I think a lot of people, especially in this day and age with social media, they get hung up with, oh, this has to be perfect. I need to put this out a certain way because if not, the comment section will clown me. And yeah, you're always gonna have people that hate on you online or people that will talk smack. But at the end of the day, if you're improving yourself and you can focus on putting yourself out there or trying to better yourself, that's gotta be your top priority, man. It's hard to get that mindset this day and age because everybody's so wrapped up in the internet, but dude, you go to a car meet nowadays, or you go to the track, maybe is a better representation of that, and you talk to real people face to face, and I guarantee you any of those top level racers who have it all figured out, they were exactly in your shoes. They were exactly in that 15-year-old kid, that 12-year-old kid's shoes that's looking at videos online of cars at one point, or going through a magazine and playing with Hot Wheels. Everybody's passion started the same way, and we all started in a spot that we didn't know what to do. So focus on yourself. I mean, if you're aspiring to try to learn, pick up a wrench, get in the garage, watch some videos, Google some stuff, pick up a manual. Never feel afraid to dive into something because you might find this beautiful passion out of it. I did. It got me into this car, it got me into all the builds that I've done over the years, and it's really put me in a different spot in life from where I originally thought I would end up. And we've gotten to this point with the car that I look at it, I go into the shop or I go into the garage and I open the door, I stare at the car, and it's this piece that over years there's been so much learning with, there's been so much dedication and time. It's not at the spot that I would want it to be next year because things will always continue to progress. But to me, it means this piece of metal that has meant so much in my life. It's allowed me to grow, to learn, to meet people. The connections that I've made by being in the scene with this car have been bonds that have followed me for years, lifelong friends, connections. I think I don't think I could ever get rid of a car like this, and it's not my first car. It's definitely not my last. Definitely won't be my last build. I would like to build things differently in the future, with what I've learned, do things right the first way, if you would. But people ask me all the time, hey man, would you ever sell the shell or reshell the car? Or would you sell the car as a whole or part it out, make some money and build something better? I can't. It means too much to me personally that even if I got out of racing completely, if tomorrow I decided I'm gonna hang up the towel and never get in a car again, I would keep this car out of a respect to it and sentimental value that it's done so much for me in my life, and it means more than a non-car guy would be able to understand. So only someone that's crazy enough into this hobby, into this passion, is able to appreciate the bond that we can have to these welded pieces of metal with aluminum, steel, and some cars chromoly or titanium thrown into them. It's not something that you can really put into words without sounding crazy to some people.